I'm Travis Brown, founder and CEO of Mojo Up Marketing and Media. And this is my podcast, where I talk to the most successful Black and brown business executives who've broken through the barriers of today's business culture. Welcome to Mojo Up Live, diverse and talented podcast. I'm your host, Travis Brown, and we bring you the best and the top Black and brown talent in the city. And today is like no other. If you don't know Anthony Murdock II, today, now you know. My man, welcome to the show.
Man, thank you, Doc. I appreciate it, man.
So, we've had this connection, and, as a speaker, I'm pretty critical of speakers. Just because I've done it in the art of it. Yep. But when I see somebody that has that ability, I'm glued. And you have that thing.
Thank you, brother.
How did you get that thing?
How did I get that thing? First of all, thank you. And respect. I don't take that lightly. And how I got it, no idea. I think the art and the science. I got a good friend of mine, David Hall. He talks about the art and the science to the work. And I think the art came first. The science came second. And if I can be honest with you, there's plenty of communicators and storytellers who invest in developing the skill of public speaking. I'm not sure if I ever invested in developing the skill set, but I saw the value in the art because when I articulated my story, it made people feel some kind of a way. Mm-hmm. And so I continued to be put in positions by God's grace, obviously, to be able to articulate my story. And I think people saw that there might be a form or process to producing that kind of art. So I can't even say that the science was developed intentionally, but the art, that creative touch, and I know you can empathize with that, Doc. Man, that's what I invest on a day-to-day basis.
That's interesting. You call me Doc, but the truth is, you're the Doc. So you got a bunch of education.
Yeah, for sure.
Serial entrepreneur.
Okay.
Really involved at grassroots level to impact our community. Unpack kind of that piece of your story for people that don't know. You got your hands in a lot of things, and when there's some dope shit that's happening, Murdock is behind a lot of it.
Yeah. So I probably should introduce myself too. Murdock, purpose-driven, action-oriented, servant leader, emphasis on the servant leadership, Proud Product of Indianapolis, Indiana. So I'm a lawyer by trade, graduated from the McKinney School of Law by God's grace this past May, and that is definitely by God's grace. That's a different story for a different day. But I'm a lecturer in entrepreneurship and innovation by trade. So I teach business at my alma mater at Butler, which is funny because I never took a single business class while I was a student. I graduated from Butler in 2017 with a political science and religion double major, and now I'm teaching business. But I'm a coach by passion, brother. And I say that I coach entrepreneurial superstars to win championships through storytelling. And championships through storytelling is intentional. Because as a people, we can't afford to lose. So we got to learn how to win. And you a winner, brother. You a Hall of Famer. But that came with time and through experience and through intentional practice. But
I love your perspective from youth, because there's an age gap here, and a lot of youth don't understand the hustle and the grind and the time that it takes to go from this idea that you have.
Come on, Doc.
To seeing it to fruition. Pastor Johnson, one of the first sermons I ever heard Pastor Johnson preach was Pregnant with Possibilities. All-time favorite, and it talked about the difference between, everybody wants to see the baby, but nobody wants to go through the pains.
Come on, brother.
Right? You're at a spot right now where you have limelight, people talking about you, seeing the things you're moving. We're going to get into that, but take me back to what's the journey been like to go from a pastor's kid to where you are now, and I'm interested for people to understand it just didn't happen.
No, and I'm still figuring that out, to be honest with you, and I think you could probably empathize with that too. Your ability to articulate how you got to where you are becomes clear the further you get. Because stuff that seemed random becomes relevant. Because now you have the wisdom, which just comes through experience and asking people questions to understand, oh my gosh, this was significant. It seems stupid in the moment, but now it makes sense. I feel like that's what my life is every day, man. I mean, I think I wanted to go to Princeton when I was in the 2nd grade. I don't remember why, but I had my eyes dead set. Undergrad, gotta go to Princeton. And then in the 7th grade at Fall Creek Valley Middle School, I said I was gonna be an attorney. So I was gonna be a undergrad at Princeton and then probably go to Princeton Law after. And the reason why I wanted to be an attorney in the 7th grade was because I came home from school like all 7th graders do, and I watched CNN. I was a square for sure. But I saw this law being passed out west that basically said someone can become incarcerated or be taken into custody based on how they looked. And in my elementary understanding of race, of community, of identity, where I'm surrounded by people that look like me, so I don't have a critical understanding of race as a construct. I just see people around me and I'm like, well, didn't Dr. King die so this didn't happen? And so I was like, okay, well, if laws are being used to oppress these folks, then that means lawyers are the folks that can free them. Very simple, not a critical understanding. But from that moment, I got to go to Princeton undergrad, then I got to go to law school, man. And then I graduate from University High School. And that's a story in and of itself, to go from a classroom surrounded by black and brown students to being, I wonder what word I want to use.
I'm waiting.
Yeah, I want to be intentional with my words. Whew, that's a tough one. Sometimes I've used the word shipped. Sometimes I use the word bust, but they didn't have transportation. Exported. I don't know what the word would be, but I went through this cultural shock from middle school to high school, where I get introduced to new lifestyles, a different level of wealth, completely different groups of people, and go through that experience and learn more and more about identity, that things were not what I thought they were, and they will become much different when I got to Butler. Go to Butler, man, for undergrad, and I get a death threat my first semester on campus. Just by nature of, as I'm sure you can relate, man, when you a brother in any environment, attention comes by nature. But when you're one of few brothers in a predominantly white environment, it's a different kind of attention. And that disrupts, that changes the way I think about myself, my agency, my power in the situation, and began community organizing. And by my junior year at Butler, I had to make this connection between, if I'm focused just like my 7th grade self, if laws are being used to oppress, lawyers are the ones who can free. But I'm like, dang, as much as I'm learning about the law, about change, about empowerment through these books, right? These black intellectual thought leaders writing about their experience, it's even more complicated than I ever would have thought. And then I make this deep connection between community organizing and solving everyday people's problems to the fact that we live in a capitalistic society. And when you lack access to capital in a capitalistic society, you will always feel and be treated like a lowercase letter. So we can't have critical conversations about liberation without economic empowerment. And so I said, how do I take this series of my experiences that I've had since the 2nd grade up to this moment and channel them in a way that I don't wait till folks get to the courtroom. I keep it from out of there in the first place. And that was where my entrepreneurial journey started, my junior year, going into law school. So now I'm landing my plane. Now I've got to a point where I'm manifesting this 2nd and 7th grade dream. But now I'm like, I'm trying to do this business thing though. So why am I going to law school? And I know you can attest to this as well. We go through what we go through to get to where we're meant to. And rarely do the—
Hold on, back that up. Say that again.
We go through what we go through to get to where we're meant to. And man, rarely do we get put in positions of power, of prestige, or privilege for personal gain. We're creating a path or a space for other people.
Yeah.
And so I had to stay true to my younger promise because of the promise that comes from the quote unquote youth you're talking about in the future. And that's what brings me to where I am today. And there's obviously a number of stories in the midst of that. But man, every stage of my life, Doc, I gained a more critical understanding of who, of what, and where, which collectively creates my why.
How much mom and dad, because I spent some time with your dad, a little bit with your mom, and even at least one of your siblings. And I see this correlation between how you guys kind of all think, present yourself intellectually. How much has your family really cultivated who you are today?
No, for sure. My mom's from Gary, Indiana. My mom's from Gary, Indiana. And she was organized when she was in high school, not by intention, just by nature of predicament. And then went to Notre Dame undergrad. She don't never talk about that. But that's crazy, Doc. In the 90s, from Gary, Indiana, to Notre Dame, University of Notre Dame, that's a global institution in and of itself. And completely different than Gary, Indiana. So that's on one side. And then my pops, born in South Bend, but a lot of his growth and development came in the South. And I ain't talking about the South that we fantasize about now in Atlanta with the hip hop music and Andre 3000 and Thug and Gunna, and I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the deep South, Doc. I'm talking about the South that the feeling, the air is different. The air was different. We might be in 1990, early 2000s, but their politic is of 1940, 1950, 1960. 1890, 1870, sick business. And so when you take a sister who was born in Gary, Indiana, and doesn't make it out to forget where she's from, but uses her experiences to change an environment at a super duper institution in Notre Dame, and then you got a brother from South Bend, Indiana, a very, very small city with a deep South perspective, goes to Purdue, studies engineering, might be the best engineering institution in the country. I'm not an engineer, so I wouldn't know, but he talks about it like it is.
that's how we bullers talk about Purdue, though.
Well, shout out to y'all. Like I said, I can't relate.
But to be clear, I'm not an engineer.
But you do engineer things, you do bring things to life. But my point is, man, when you got folks who come from nothing and they make something out of it, my goal becomes to start from something, and can I give my kids everything? And it's obviously much deeper than that. But that's the way that I talk about my parents' impact on me. They came from nothing, Doc, gave me something. So I start with something. Now it's about giving my kids everything.
One of the things I think I either heard about you in a conversation was there's this gap, though, between, I graduated college.
Come on.
And I thought I was going to go to law school, or started law school, was going to on this path. But man, I got this entrepreneur thing that's really wanting to drive me. And, there's some pressure from, hey, I'm supposed to go this route. I'm supposed to do it this way. It's supposed to look like this. But you're supposed to start it to derail a little bit. Talk about that detour and how it got you to this point now.
And it wasn't anything minuscule, bro. I'm talking about my first year of law school. I was in coffee meetings, lunch meetings, 3 to 4 times a week. So I worked in law school. So I did the evening program. I ain't graduated in 3 years. I graduated in 4 because I went to school at night. So on my lunch breaks from work during the day, I go and get coffee at Quill's, or I get lunch at City Market. And I was meeting with different attorneys and public officials and public servants every day.
Because at that point in time, from an entrepreneurship, from a community involvement, you were doing what?
Well, I had just built my first brand when I was a junior at Butler. And I started to learn that having a brand don't mean you got a business. and then you know what else it was? I also became aware that I've been talking my talk for years, but I wasn't getting the payback for the value I provided to other people. So I had to figure out how was I going to monetize what it is I wanted to create. So I started Murdock LLC the fall semester of my second year of law school. So that first year, I was like, I got this brand that we want to monetize, but I don't know exactly how to do it. And by that second year, I had figured it out. But I'm talking about these coffee meetings and these lunches because I'm in these conversations, and every time I sit down, people are like, I heard about you here, heard about you there. Now let's talk about law school. And I would tell them about, well, it's bigger than that. Like I want to use my legal degree to articulate. And I had the words like I'm saying it now. But the vision was there. And I'm going to talk about vision. The vision was there. They were not trying to hear that, bro. Like I had people explicitly telling me, put that on the back burner, lock in with this law school thing, and worry about that when it comes. And I know you can relate. That's not how we operate. And man, when you walk into environments where people tell you what you should be, but your heart, your mind, your conviction says you got to do something they can't even conceive. Whoo, that don't just make it hard to get up and go.
But what was the gut check going? I'm hearing those voices, and I'm guessing mom and dad probably had some of those voices too.
No question.
I was being soft with it. Mom and dad had those voices too, and you're like, yeah, but I have a spirit. I have a vision and it's different than yours and I'm doing it.
Man, people live and die becoming expensive copies of somebody else. Every day, bro. I just, and I can't tell people not to do that and then not model it myself. There came a point, man, when I was in high school, when I was in middle school probably, I think middle school, I was supposed to be an engineer. So me and my pops, as y'all know, looking directly at the camera, y'all know me and my mans look exactly the same. All right, and people, I've been Anthony's son probably for 15, 16 years. And then there's this transition that happens where I'm no longer Anthony's son, but I'm Anthony Murdock II.
And by the way, when people say Anthony Murdock, the question is like, oh, which one are we talking about?
Come on.
Because
which is a blessing.
Which is, you know, your father has his own platform and world and impact, but now you got to a point where, like, when you say those words, generationally different, corporately different, people are like, which one are we talking about? Because there's credibility now.
Yeah, and I want to add to it too, like, my dad's my greatest role model. You know, I want to be just like my dad, and we not
that's
doing
powerful.
And that's not a joke. And I probably wouldn't have always said that, but I want to be just like him, man. Like, and we ain't gonna make it about that, but I know Pop, you gonna see this. I'll make sure I let you know.
I'm having an emotional response to this right now because as a dad,
man,
okay, I'm a dad, and that's what I want. Mm-hmm. You know, not that my son to actually have to do what I do for a living, or be this, do that, but the heart and the spirit and the mindset and the drive and the ability to make something of himself. Mm-hmm. In the image of what I've been able to do, not because I'm God, not that type of image, but that's powerful. And I think your father has got to be proud of where you are and what you're doing.
See, but this answers your question. It goes back to the gut check, right? So in the same way I just showed that reverence for my father, there's a message in that. I showed reverence for my father. I couldn't become an expensive copy of my dad. So there comes a point in middle school where I'm like, hey, big dog, love you, but this engineering thing is not for me. I got to stop going to these camps and stop pipelining me. I can't. It was high school, bro. Because I took chemistry and physics at the same time. I said, this is a dub. This is not the move. But in that moment, small instance, but I'm exercising agency. And I'm like, my reverence and respect is there, but that's not my lane. And so even in a situation like that, standing on your 10 toes and saying chemistry, physics, engineering is not for me. That's an example of what it means to say, people are telling you to do one thing, but how you gonna move? And had I kept going with chemistry and physics, I would have failed my way through engineering. But I didn't. And I chose to understand that there's another route, another opportunity for me.
But I think it's so powerful for people to understand that all of us at some point in time, you know, they like to call it the fork in the road, where you have to decide, am I going to be me?
Come on, Doc.
You know, and I think what people get so concerned about is if I'm me and I quote unquote fail, then I got to look back and say, well, maybe I should have been that.
Come on.
Instead of just being, like you talk about failing your way through, I failed my way through life. Like one failure, learn. Another failure, learn. Another failure, learn. I used to tell kids when I got them speaking all the time, like, listen, the only difference between me and you is I got a lot more failure.
Stop playing.
And so I think people have to be willing to say, I'm okay with the trajectory not being that perfect path. Right? And so now you chose that, you charted that. And so now you're in the big boy space of the corporate realm, understand and try to vie for corporate dollars and corporate attention.
Yep.
But yes, you have this mindset from a law perspective. You're involved in, you know, some nonprofits that you've created. Circuit City Storyteller, I'm on your board there. So where are you today, and where are we going?
Today, ecosystem. And I'm not is that geology or not biology?
Biology, ecosystem.
Maybe? Okay, biology? We'll go with biology then.
I think.
I told you, man, that science piece, I had to depart from that.
Hey, keep going, because that's about all I got in it. I think it's biology.
He said, I can't even feed on that's all I got.
Nope, that's all I got.
But in all sincerity, the way I remember it from like elementary, middle school, was in the ecosystem, like different things play different roles. You know, as long as one thing does one thing, something else can do something else, something else can do something else. Ecosystem gets disrupted when one of the parts of the ecosystem stops playing its role. And you know, in business, we got to remember what role we play. On a team, we got to remember what role we play. And so when I think about from an entrepreneurial perspective, bigger than that, from a mission perspective, it's about building and reinforcing this ecosystem. So at the core of the ecosystem, I got my consulting, my coaching practice, Murdock LLC. Outside of that, we got the side hustle economy company. We did a couple of things with that too.
Oh, that's right.
We got so much work. We've been doing a lot of work together, Doc. And then outside of that, we got Circle City Storytellers, because I built my ecosystem for REL.
Okay, hold on. Break down with me, because I don't want to run out of time, but I want you to break down what do you do from a consulting? I got to have you touch on side hustle. I forgot about that, man.
That's okay, man.
And then a Circle City Storyteller. So break those three down for us.
Let's talk about REL. Because in business, it's part of what makes y'all so great. You have to figure out who you serve. It's a lot of businesses that, and this ain't no business conversation, but real quick, if you're looking to build or monetize your idea, if you're looking to make some kind of an impact, you're looking to solve somebody's problem, you got to solve somebody's problem, and you got to know whose problem you're solving. A lot of us can't scale in value and volume because we don't know whose problem we're solving. I had to learn who REL was. I know REL's name. I know where she went to school. I know how old she is. I know what she listens to. I know what she likes to eat. I know what time she goes to bed. I learned who she was. And that's why I created Circle City Storytellers.
Because she's your avatar.
Stop playing with me. And she's the bomb.com, a strong sister. And even this strong sister who made all the right decisions has a problem. And the problem, now she got a number of them. Because to be black and to be a woman and to be strong in this country, that means you're the most disrespected, the most neglected, and the least protected. So I ain't solving all the problems, because there's people who are positioned to be able to empower her. But one of them is she made all the right decisions, but she still don't know why she's here. That's a purpose problem. But I can't just talk about purpose because everybody named mama on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok and Twitter's talking about purpose. But that's why we talk about story, Doc. Because I don't want to be the answer to her problem, but I want to support her as she solves her own problem and heals from the generational curses that she's got to break. That comes through the stories. And so through Circle City Storytellers, what do? We eliminate barriers to black stories being told in the Circle City and beyond, because black stories are the assets that break generational curses, build generational wealth, and bridge the racial wealth gap. And REL's story deserves to be told, my brother. But then after that, it's not enough to just introduce her to the fact you got a story. That's thebomb.com, and it's got power. Then we got to have a critical conversation about business and entrepreneurship, because we're in a capitalistic society. How are we going to leverage that power to make it make sense, and that sensational impact all across? You picking up what I'm putting down, Doc?
I am.
And so through that program,
I'm about to go back and listen to it a couple more times.
Come on, Doc. We're going to go through that, and we're going to expose, we're going to educate, and equip her to bring her entrepreneurial dreams to life. Because a lot of us don't dream by any means because we ain't seen something worth dreaming about. We got to be exposed. But what good is it to have a dream if we ain't taught how to achieve it? So we got to educate you. I got all this education on how to achieve that dream. But it's not enough to have a dream, be educated. Because I had a dream and I was educated. But we got to make that stuff pop, my brother. We got to make it pop. So what tools can we equip you with to turn that dream into a reality? That's the Side Hustle Economy Company. And then there's Murdock LLC. We've created this mastermind community internally, but corporately we communicate and say, one, for the mastermind, we have to win as a people because we can't afford to lose. So we create spaces to teach you how to win by leveraging your greatest asset, your beautiful, bold, and black story. But then corporately, it's saying the talent we have inside of this private community is the talent you need in your company and corporation. And you can't keep it. And you can't attract it. Because you're trying to attract great talent to dirty water with folks who don't know how to swim. You picking up what I'm putting down? So how do we have some critical conversations about that? That's the ecosystem in 30 seconds. I did it the best I could.
Man, that was dope because you took us around really all the connection points.
Yes, we did.
That even people that don't know you and they're not involved in your community, your culture, your ecosystem yet, is we have to have that ecosystem in our realm. You know, you were breaking down something about you call Ariel.
Yes, Ariel.
And we talk about this when we build avatars for clients. Like, you gotta understand who this person is.
Come on, brother.
And most people try to write a bunch of messages, create content, business pitches, all this stuff, and they don't actually know who that person is right there. And just hearing you name it and the passion by which you talk about that is super powerful, and a nugget that some people will have missed if I didn't jump back and touch on that. Now, I'm gonna put you on the hot seat in a minute here. And then I'll have one really final question. I'm gonna let you really dive in and put some thought in. So, all right, I'm going to put you on this hot seat here. I got a bunch of questions that I'm just going to throw at you. One word or a quick phrase answer in your best. Now, one word or quick phrase answer at your best. All right, here we go. A place that you love to vacation.
LA.
Favorite city you've been to.
LA.
Your favorite homemade meal.
That's gonna be more than one word.
What?
Fried chicken, cabbage, cornbread.
And who cooks it?
Macaroni and cheese. Stop playing with me. Latrice Murdock, Simply Elegant Pastries. Don't play with her, don't play with me.
Favorite restaurant.
Tease me.
I haven't been down there. I gotta check that out.
Oh, we gotta make that happen.
Favorite sports team.
Boston Celtics.
Favorite player.
Ever?
All time.
Bill Russell. That's why the Boston Celtics.
Okay. College.
Butler University.
Last TV show that you've binged, or one that you binged you loved.
Binged?
Yeah, binged. Got in it.
I love Snowfall.
A movie, maybe not your favorite,
Okay.
but it can be your favorite, like a movie that you just...
I Am Legend.
Favorite type of music?
Hip hop.
Hype song.
Ready or Not by Meek Mill. Dream Chasers 2. Don't play with me, don't play with him.
And favorite non-profit.
Favorite non-profit. Favorite's tough. Love the Kepler Institute though. Love the Kepler Institute. Community wealth building. Mm-hmm. Everybody talking about social capital. Before there was social capital, there was community wealth building. They've been doing it for 25 years. Mm-hmm. Shout out to Imhotep. I'm gonna see you later today, my brother.
So we got a few minutes left, and so this is the question that I always end with, and I wanted to give you a little more time because I know you're going to go deep on this. Is there's a time when it's all over, and we see a tombstone, it has a number, has a dash, and has a number. When this is all done, what do they say about Anthony Murdock II?
When we first started Moments with Murdock, brother, back in formally 2019, informally 2018, I would end the moment saying the same thing. Never forget, Murdock is about we and not me. And there's not one moment I spend not thinking about us. That's what I would always say. And something that I really, really, really loved and appreciated was the fact that when people see me, I don't want them to see me and me alone. I want people to see themselves. Right? So this concept of being like a vessel or a channel, like people see me, and I got to remind people all the time that it ain't me you seeing. I hollow myself out more and more every single day. And by hollowing myself out more and more every day, you see the one that I'm working to serve every single day. And that's my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. So you don't see Murdock. The greater I become, you see his calling working through me. I say all that here because I never want anybody, when they see me, to think that they cannot become the best version of themselves. So, and you and I also both know this too, Doc. We got that birth date and that death date. But that death date is not the end. It's going to be the beginning of something new. And you know, my goal is when I go up to them golden gates, that's what they call them, right, brother? I want him to be able to say, well done. And I can't wait to see my people on the other side. But when they think about the legacy I left, I want them to see me and see themselves. Because Murdock was never about me. It was about we. And I'm looking at the camera if that's okay with you real quick. It's a lot of people who see me and have interesting things to say. And I hate that for you. Because as black folks, we have things that we navigate on an everyday basis. Systems that we face, trials that we face, things we have to push past. And the system will make you think that someone who looks like you and comes from a neighborhood like you did and got to face the same systems you do is your problem. And it's not mine. That's why I'm looking at you in your eye. Because I know last time somebody looked at you square in your eye and told you. And just remember, you got a lot of things to fight. And don't let somebody confuse you and think it's your problem. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Loving yourself is a revolutionary action, and you're worth the revolution. And when the revolution is done from the way that I'm contributing, I want folks to know that they're worth the revolution.
Man, this is one of those shows that I'm gonna have to go back and just digest it. Every time I'm around you, I listen, and it challenges me to think about the impact that I'm making, that I'm trying to make, and all the navigations. And man, I've told you this personally, one-on-one, man. I love who you are and what you're doing and the impact that you're making. And I love that it's not selfish, and it's really about how do we empower others that may not come from the same place you come from or have some of the same advantages or opportunities or parents or whatever that situation is. How do we do that? And a lot of people are asking the question, how do we do that? But you're doing it. Mm-hmm. And that's the difference between people that are at a space in their life that it's great to talk about and people that are out there doing it. And so, my man, I really appreciate you coming by, and we always like to wrap it up like this. You get to give it the official, it's a wrap.
I get to say it?
Yes, sir.
Wait, right here?
Right here. Yes, sir.
Hey, y'all. It's a wrap. That was hard. Appreciate you, bro.
Man.